Coreyemmah here.
Hi, Zorana here.
And I would like to welcome Zorana again on my channel and on another Skype call, on another chat on astrology. And today's topic will be Mercury. So we will talk about Mercury in our charts in different signs and its role, basically. So what is all the Mercury about?
Hi, so Mercury in our charts rules the mind. That's his first role. Then his other two important roles are connections and communication. So it's kind of the triangle of intellect, communication, and connection. So we say that Mercury is faceless planet. I don't know how better way to describe it. Mercury itself doesn't have any specific way of expressing itself or anything like that. Basically, he gives a channel for another planet, another archetype to express itself. He gives them the space and the tool to express themselves in the chart. Without him, nothing of that would be possible.
Okay, so he's basically that kind of way how to show who we are through communication. Is it like
Yes.
that if somebody has Mercury in Taurus, for example, then the Taurus will be the way how the person will express themselves, how they will communicate, or how they will think, or does it work different way?
Okay, so Mercury in signs, yes, the sign will give sort of characteristics to our speech, to the way we express ourselves, our thoughts, how are they, I will not say how are they, coming up, but, how do you connect your thoughts, your language, your expression. Some people have difficulties expressing themselves. They have difficulties writing essays in school or something is very hard for them. Other people are like flowing, everything just comes up as it comes in the mind, it's come up from the mouth or writing. But another important thing is connection. So without making connection, like between different ideas, between you and other people, between different things like in the chart and in their life, no progress is possible. Nothing is possible. So without that, I would say that's even more important function of Mercury than just communication. It's like making connections between things.
So he's some kind of like a medium through which the stuff emanates outside from inside. Does he kind of connect the inside part and the outside part as well?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, it works like that. So, for example, when you get an insight or idea, so how did you get that idea? It came out of nowhere. There was chaos, you had a question or a problem, or you couldn't solve something, you were thinking, but nothing happened, then you kind of leave it, and out of nowhere, wow, an idea pops out. And now what do you do with that idea? So how you connect it to your problem, how do you use it to solve something, how do you present it to other people? That's Mercury.
Okay, so the way of processing what kind of comes from inside.
Yes. So now when you mention processing, that would be Virgo function of Mercury. So if we are talking about Mercury through signs, with every sign he has a different way of functioning. So we know that Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. So it's the strongest in those two signs, and exalted in Virgo. So in Virgo, it's in its, let's say, most powerful position. And why is that? Because Virgo is all about analyzing. So if Mercury in Gemini is about quantity of communication, quantity of connection, so a strong Gemini, so a strong person with a strong placements in a sign of Gemini, they will make a lot of connections, communicate fast, and in a big quantity. So it's a lot of people all the time, you know, at the same time they will be on the phone and talking to someone and watching something, you know, it's like multitasking. So they are collecting a lot of information from their surroundings. So it's about the quantity of information. But then in Virgo, that function becomes analyzing. So everything that you collected, you're analyzing, as you said, you're processing that. So you're evaluating your ideas, your thoughts, your informations, everything that surrounds you. You are basically, you're applying a standard. You're kind of criticizing the world around you by adding value. This is good, this is bad, this could be better, I will do this with it. You're adding value. You're making connection between information and what does it mean for you. So in a Virgo, you're getting, you know, after that processing, you're getting something valuable out of everything that you collected. So that's Mercury in Virgo.
So these are basically two signs that are like Mercurian signs, basically. But when the Mercury connects with some other sign, when it's Aries or Taurus or another ones, it also in that way kind of connects with another planet. With the planet, that is the ruler of the other sign.
Yeah. So,
and can help to kind of express and understand that planet better.
Yes. So we could say that, for example, Mercury in Taurus and Mercury in Libra is similar to if your Mercury makes connection between us. It will be similar. It is not the same, but it will be similar because Venus is the ruler of Taurus and Libra, and the Taurus and Libra are all about Venusian things. So, for example, but there is a difference between Taurus and Libra, so that's why it's a difference there. So, for example, if Mercury is in Taurus, it will be very slow. So, first, these people will not be, they will be like think before you speak. They will not just blur out anything. They will not be first to speak, first to say something. They will always take their time with processing information, with learning new things. But because Taurus is about possession and values, they will try to make something their own before they show it and present it to other people. For example, one of the functions of Mercury is also the way we learn. So it is specific for Mercury and Taurus people. They write a lot. And why do they do that? Because when you write something down with your own hand, you make that word yours. So maybe it's easier for you to learn something when you see it written in your own handwriting, in your own notebook, than maybe learning just, from the, absorbing it like a Gemini or something. So
there might be actually, I kind of catch there kind of that aspect of Taurus on one side, who wants to possess things and wants to have it written so it's in material.
Yes.
And on the other hand, I see there as well that Venus, that is ruling Taurus, that wants things to be nice and different and original, which is when you write it by your own hand.
Yeah, also beautiful handwriting, that would be Mercury and Venus. You have the those very specific beautiful handwritings, that would be it. Using beautiful words, writing poetry, expressing yourself in a nice way, being charming, being in your speech, let's say persuasive in a nice way. You can be like persuasive in manipulative way, that would be Mercury and Pluto. But if you're kind of charming people, that would be Mercury and Venus. Also, selling things like that would be Mercury and Venus. You're trying to convince somebody else that something is very beautiful. You need, you want it. You need to buy it. You need to possess it. That's Mercury and Venus. Also, kind of making peace between people. That's Mercury in Libra. So you want people to get along nicely. You're diplomat. You use words, to shape your reality and reality of other people. So that's Mercury in Libra. And then opposite of that, Mercury in Aries would be or Mercury with Mars, you use your communication, your ideas, your thoughts, your words as to fight with other people. That doesn't mean necessarily that you're always in some sort of conflict with other people, but you can speak in a sort of way like you are on a duel. You know, it can be a friendly duel, like you and me can discuss things, but we can discuss it very kind of in a fast way, you know, ideas just exchanging, you know, fiery speech, sort of thing.
Because Mars is all about fire and Aries as well. When we were chatting, you told me that Mercury with connection to Mars is something like that words are stronger than a sword. So it's very that kind of warrior element in it, but it doesn't have to be warrior in war. It's just kind of strong. When they say something, it's like sharp and
cutting words that are cutting, that the words that have edge to it, you know, speaking with an edge in your speech, you know, your words can literally hurt somebody. We all do that. And also Mercury and Mars could be strategical thinking. You could be like on a small scale, you can take example of, let's say, playing chess. That's a strategical game. You need to use your logic, that is Mercury, you know, your thoughts to kind of predict what will your opponent do to cut him, to make a better move. Like on a big scale, you could be strategic in a war, in a fighting, like a general thinking, where will his army go, what will they do, how will they defeat opponent. That's connection between function of Mars, which is fighting, and function of Mercury, which is, you know, strategical thinking, logic, you know, trying to predict what will opponent do. That's
kind of. Can I just ask, when we will have this kind of like chat over chess, maybe, will it also be affected by the house? Let's say that we have like a Mercury in Aries, which is kind of a Martian sign, and they will be together, or this sign and this planet will be together in some specific house. Will the house suggest the topics that will the person want to talk about most? Or
okay, Mercury in house.
Put it out.
Okay, so let's say you have Mercury in Aries, and pick out any house you want. Where would you?
Okay, let's pick 10th house.
Okay, Mercury in 10th house. So first, that would be Mercury on the top of the sky, on the top of your chart. It would be expressing itself, you know, in a very ambitious way. So if you Mercury in Aries in the 10th house, that would be the picture, let's say, of that general, strategically making decisions that affect a lot of people. 10th house is public. 10th house is we are perceived by the public. How do we, you know, put ourselves out on, you know, for many people to see us. So if you're putting yourself out as a Mercury in Aries and you want other people to see you like that, you will take a role of somebody who is like that Mercury in Aries. So like that, like you know, chess master, some you know, mastermind who uses his communication and intellect to fight something, or for something, or against something.
And it's for kind of like a bigger good, because of its
10th house is kind of our mission in life. It's career. It's at the top of the chart. What is your mission in life? If you have planet there, that planet won't express itself in full. Like, I'm on the top of the mountain, I'm on my pedestal, I'm on the throne, and I want to be seen like this. So I want to be seen as Aries, and I'm Mercury. So I want to be seen with a sword in my hand, but I'm not killing anyone. I'm using my intellectual abilities, my speech to, let's say, be a winner. You know, you could be a winner in a contest, in a writing contest, or something like that. So you want to be on the top of the things always if you're in the 10th house.
And what if it would be in kind of opposite way, not on the opposite side of the chart, but let's say in 2nd house, that it would be more like...
Okay, yeah, that would be like a Taurus field. So it would be, again, about values. It would be about ownership of the things. So Mercury In second, it could be, you could be getting value out of your Mercury. You could basically turn it into the money. You want to possess things, you want to earn something, you want to cash your talents. That is what you own. If you have Mercury there, which is in a strong placement, it could be that Mercury is your talent that you're able to turn into some tangible, material, valuable thing, let's say money or something like that. So you could be in a profession that is dealing with, that is using mercurial talents and skills to make you know, your possessions out of it, to make living out of it.
To bring it to myself because it's the,
yeah.
So, and if there was if this house was with Mercury in Aries, it will be again in that kind of like a strong speech.
In that kind of way, yeah.
In this kind of way. Okay, I will just jump tiny bit back. You were mentioning Mercury and Pluto, that these two, when they are together, they might have some kind of like manipulative tendencies. So which sign is ruled by Pluto? It's Scorpio?
Yeah, it is. Scorpio and Pluto are connected. So if we are going back to Mercury in signs, so Mercury in Scorpio or Mercury in the 8th house or Mercury with Pluto would have all this, you know, common denominator that is very intense way of communicating, connecting, words used, like you can manipulate your surroundings. You're intense, you're very deep thinker. You don't talk, you don't use small talk. You're not talking about superficial things that doesn't interest you. Your interest is in you want to get to know other people in a really deep, meaningful way, and sometimes that's very uncomfortable for other people. So you're kind of a psychologist and detective and investigator in your mind.
Yeah,
so,
you're opening also like kind of shadowy topics.
Oh yeah, you're interested. You're like if your Mercury is in the 8th house, you will always be interested in the 8th house matters. So in the taboos, in secrets, in kind of shadowy things, in psychology, in other people's 8th house is what other people own. So you will be interested in that. But specifically, Mercury and Pluto will be again. Your words will have power, and you can use it for good or for very, very, very bad. You can hurt people with your words. You can cut them. Everything you say has a deep impact on other people. So it's like with Mercury and Pluto, you would be able to see like a weak spots in other people, and you can use it either for good, to heal them, to help them heal with your words, with your approach, with how you connect to them. So you can be a healer, or you can cut them there. You can really hurt them there, and you can kind of be manipulating. You know, a bad example of Mercury and Pluto.
Yeah, I guess it always also depends on other planets, on our experience, and on the character of the person and on the situation. Sometimes we want to do good, but we actually do bad. That happens as well. Can I ask you, so this is more about so Mercury, when Mercury rules or is connected to 8th house or to Scorpio, but what if the Mercury is connected to Pluto in a bit different way, like let's say in triangle, let's say in some kind of aspect? Will they kind of support each other? Will then be very important in which sign the Pluto is as well?
Yes, everything around, like we have to take everything into account. But if Mercury is in any sort of aspect with Pluto, these tendencies will exist. So you have a broad spectrum of how you can use them, and will you be more inclined to use them in a kind of a good way or in a bad way? Will you yourself have problems with that? Like if you have Mercury and Pluto in a bad aspect, you could be also attracting other people who are psychopaths, who will treat you like that. You have problems because you could feel your words don't have this power. So Mercury in bad position with Pluto, you attract other people who will constantly push you to force you to defend yourself using that, they will push you into that bad aspect of Mercury and Pluto to try to make you overcome it. If it is in a good, let's say, triangle, that energy will flow within you. It will come to you naturally. You will not have problems with it. The trine is always natural flow of energy, because the trine means that the planets are in the same element. They're all in watery signs or all in the fiery, so the energy will flow naturally. It will not fight with itself within you and then, manifesting in your life as a conflict.
So when we are with Mercury in watery signs, I will just jump from here to Mercury in Pisces, if you don't mind, because that just goes for me on that triangle.
Okay, so Mercury in Pisces, it's very, very interesting because it's similar to Mercury retrograde, and we can mention that as well. So Mercury in Pisces, it's, let's say, opposite of its traditional function. So how, like, we have a division, like left side of the brain and right side of the brain. So left side of the brain would be analytical, thinking, logic, numbers. You're good with numbers, language skills and stuff like that. So it would be like the strong traditional role of Mercury, like Mercury in Virgo. And then opposite of that is Pisces. So the right side of brain, which is imagination, creativity, being kind of lost in thought, not always making sense, not following logic, the same logic as everybody else. That would be Mercury in Pisces. And also Mercury retrograde. So opposite of what it usually do when it's direct and when it's the strongest. Also Mercury in Pisces is a silent Mercury. I have noticed that. And Mercury in the 12th house, it has, these people have difficulties with speaking up, with saying what they think. So they could know inside of themselves how they feel, what they think, but they have such a difficult time saying it out loud, admitting it out loud, making it real, like material. Like Mercury in Taurus would have no problems with that, making something inside of yourself materializing outside. But Mercury in Pisces would have these difficulties. Or if they could, they would express it in a creative way through art, art, through poems, through music. That's connection. Music also a way of expressing yourself without actually using words.
I actually have quite a question now. When Pisces and 12th house are like Mercury, who doesn't want to really express themselves through words, what if we have Mercury in Gemini in 12th house? How does it like?
Okay, yeah, that's Mercury in Gemini is in its own sign, so it would be a strong Mercury, but in the 12th house.
Yeah. But then on the other hand.
Okay, in the 12th house. Okay, that could be, how now we can connect that with Hermes and mythology. How Mercury is in mythology, he's the messenger of gods. He's the only god that can go in the underworld and then come back out. He has wings, he can fly, he can go anywhere. Now the 12th house would be our underworld. It would be the place of unconscious, the place of secrets. If you believe it, it would be like the past life. It would be, what happened before you, what you don't own, what you don't know. Like the secret enemies are in the 12th house, secret places. So if you have Mercury there, using it in a good way, if you are kind of if you are actively if you're acting on that Mercury, you can go there and you can pick up information from there. In a bad way, it would be you're lost, completely lost in mind. You cannot make connections. You're confused. You're easily influenced by the things that are unknown to you. You have dreams. Oh, that could be interpreting dreams. Mercury in the house. So in a good way, you could be facing the unknown, facing your dreams, facing your unconscious, and trying to pull the information out of it In a bad way, you could be kind of turning away from that, being lost, not making connections, not taking any value from it. So, because Mercury is giving us that tool, that channel between us and the world, between us and another planet, between the signs itself. So if you use it, you can take the treasure that is hidden in the 12th house. If you don't use it, you can get completely lost in that 12th house. You can be Mercury that is always, silent. Like maybe as a Gemini, you would have the urge to kind of communicate with people, but in the 12th house, you don't know how to do it.
Could it be also rather communication with gods?
Communication with gods in the 12th house. Yeah.
Or with like rather underworld, rather like the communication but expressed in different way than towards people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be. The 12th house is Pisces and Neptune ruled. So it would be like, again, Mercury and Neptune, if you have that connection in the charts. That is Mercury communicating with the unknown, which would say are the gods, or using imagination, being intuitive in mind, being creative. Kind of not being on the logical side of the Mercury, on the ground. You would be more intuitive, more creative, more open for other things out of your mind, like meditative mind, transcending your own mind. So in spirituality, that's a spiritual path for a Mercury and Neptune, Mercury in the 12th house, Mercury in Pisces, that's like a spiritual Mercury. Also Mercury retrograde, because you're stepping outside of your logical mind. And when you're outside of the logical mind, then things are open for you to realize something new, to gain a new knowledge that is not in the books, that is not in the real world.
Since Mercury is kind of medium, can he also help us this way to transfer that spiritual experience towards when it's well positioned in the chart?
Yes.
Yeah. Also, it's kind of like a delivering of the message.
Like being literally a medium. So it would be like a strong connection, Mercury and Neptune. It would be Mercury placed in the 8th house. Mercury with Pluto would also be this, because Pluto rules the underworld. Mercury in the 4th house, that's also unconscious. It's one of the occult houses. Mercury with Uranus would be having unexpected insights, unexpected ideas out of nowhere. It's kind of they say it's a sign either of a crazy man or a brilliant mind, like a Mercury connection with Uranus, because literally getting insights out of nowhere, like a flash of lighting. You just get, a brilliant idea. The small lamp, above your head is kind of turning the light on. So why is that? Why is that a sign that somebody got an idea, like in cartoons or something? It's really light is flashing on. Mercury and Uranus.
Okay, so if we have a Mercury, for example, in 4th house, it's similar like if we have Mercury in Cancer, Cancer sign. So how does Mercury work in that sign?
Yeah, Cancer rules the 4th house. So if we do Mercury in Cancer, that would be connecting logic with emotions. For Cancer, for them to be intellectually involved in a subject, to be able to, let's say, learn something new, they have to care about that. So that it has to be connected to their emotions in order for them to be able to use their Mercury. So it's always a key. For Mercury in Cancer, the key is emotion. They have to care about the subject to be able to really put themselves into it, to really learn a new subject. So
they talk a lot then about relationships mainly and the things that are bothering them this way?
Because that is a very private, Cancer is private. They would be like with the person they trust, with the person they feel their home at home, they would of course communicating, they would be expressing themselves, and in a very beautiful way. That's a watery sign. They're creative, they are, you know, capable of creating a beautiful word words, but would not be displaying their intimate things to the public. So they wouldn't be like Gemini, you know, everything, or, you know, Libra also likes to kind of show beautiful things, show themselves up, a Leo. But Cancer, no, they would be guarding what is most precious to them. They would be very protective towards it, so they would not be, you know, speaking about that maybe to a lot of unknown people or stuff like that.
And when we move to Leo, it will be the opposite way. They will like to express all this stuff.
So Leo is the sign that will bring sparks and joy to a conversation. So they will that's like Mercury and Sun. So they will lighten up with their talk. They will speak passionately about anything, you know. They will be loud, they will want to be heard. Like when they open their mouth and start speaking, Mercury and Leo will always be heard. So like will automatically, like, who is this person, what are they speaking to, they will start to listen to them, because Leo demands engagement from other people. So that's how they will talk.
Leo is a ruler, or is connected to 5th house. So will it be also connected to kind of like, not teaching, but being that kind of bright person on, let's say, the top of the family, since 5th house is also about our future family?
Mercury in 5th house. With the family, I would connect it more to the 4th house. In the 5th house, I would connect it with kids. And Mercury is also, because it is connected to Gemini, it would represent young people, young men, young women, young people, you know, students, children in the schools, because it's about, you know, like your first steps, how you learn to read or to write, or how you're connecting, you know, brothers and sisters. That's Gemini. That's 3rd house. In the 5th house, Mercury in the 5th, that would be useful placement for you to make use of your hobbies, of what you do for joy. So that's connection. Leo is bringing joy. Mercury in Leo, you bring joy to communication. You talk about what you love. You're expressing in a way that is engaging other people with you, with what you do. So in the 5th house, that's very useful if you want to be in creative waters, be, let's say, in public. If you want to be a singer, actor, dancer, anything. If you want to be on the stage. If you want to make use of your hobby, if you want to kind of sell your creative works, if you want to write something, you want it to be noticed by other people. So that's kind of useful connection with the 5th house.
That's very nice. So we can move then to the Mercury in Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So I would just like to mention that I have this information from a book by Joseph Karika, The Money Magic, that when we have a connection between Mercury and the Sun and Jupiter, that these 3 planets are basically indicating our potential to have money. So is Mercury in Sagittarius able to kind of like gain what they want through their words? Or is it rather like, I want this because I'm the Sagittarius, I just shoot it out?
Mercury in Sagittarius would be, and connected to Jupiter, would be giving meaning to the words, or using. So you're using Mercury to gain what Sagittarius wants is meaning. That's meaningful things are important to them. Jupiter is about meaning, like from a spiritual point of view, it is about higher law, higher truth, philosophy. On the kind of mundane level, it would be a law in the state, law rules in your life, making things more bigger, larger, multiplying. So that could be with the money. Jupiter would always be making something bigger. But Jupiter and Mercury, or Mercury in Sagittarius, would most be concerned with truth, what the truth is, finding out the truth, finding out the meaning. Or also Mercury in the ninth house would be connected with teachers, with professors, universities, kind of learning, broadening your horizons. So strongly placed there, or in Sagittarius or with Jupiter, it would be a sign of a person who is kind of teaching, who is teaching you something, who is high on that level of knowledge. They're gaining knowledge, they have knowledge, they want to, it's preaching also. So in kind of religion or something like that, they're preachers. They have some, or they think they have knowledge, so they want to preach it to the other people. So other people sometimes don't like this, so they could be annoyed by this approach, or this person could literally make career out of this, and they could use this to teach other people, literally to be, in the school, on the university, or just to write books about something, to speak about philosophy or about spirituality, to be gurus or teachers. So that's
it sounds amazing. Like, I have Mercury in 9th house, as far as I know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's in 10th. I'm not sure at the moment. But yeah, definitely I want to express what I know through the videos. But in the same time, I have personally Mercury in Taurus, so I take it very slowly to both learn and gain the experience, which I then remember. It's just like, as a Taurus, I
Taurus
collect it slowly, but I have it then. Yeah. And then I'm sending it out, and to creating the career on my teaching is also a very slow process. So now I understand this better as well. So thank you for that. And I think that we have just one last that is missing, which is Mercury in Aquarius or in 11th house. Which planet rules Aquarius? I'm not 100% sure. Is it Uranus?
Yeah, so in traditional astrology, Saturn was ruling Aquarius. In modern, it's Uranus, but we use both of them. So we say that Saturn and Uranus are co-ruling the Aquarius. So Mercury in Aquarius would be like innovative mind. It would be similar to connection between Mercury and Uranus, so getting ideas out of nowhere. They would also be kind of a mind of engineer. Mind that wants to know how something is working. They want to, with people even, they want to know what makes people tick, how people work, let's say that way. They're kind of like it's funny because Aquarius is always connected, they're compared to aliens. They're like not from this. So it would be like you have a guy in a laboratory or some alien in the spaceship, observing human species. Why do they act like this? What does this mean? Why? It would be like that Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory. He's like out of this world completely. He's not social. It's hard for Mercury in Aquarius. It's hard to make social connections because Aquarius is such a detached sign. So they're more into technology. They kind of observe things from the distance. There has to be distance between Aquarius and the rest of the world. So that would be quirky mind, geeky people. Doing things on a different levels at the same time, kind of a chaotic mind, a bit of disorganized because of that Uranus, but very intelligent, very innovative. They literally use it as a tool. Not to connect with people and express their emotions, but to find out exactly, how to put things together, how to make something new, how to, create. Well, in that sort of way, in a problem-solving sort of way, they would be creative, how to finding new approach to some problem. And I think we also didn't mention Mercury in Capricorn, that's the last one.
Yeah, we were talking about Mercury in 10th house, but not about Capricorn. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, so Mercury in Capricorn, that would be kind of opposite of Uranus. So they would be, they wouldn't speak a lot. And that is because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So Mercury and Saturn would put a blockage on a Mercury, and this can go in two directions. They can go in the direction that Mercury and Capricorn are insecure in themselves. They are afraid of rejection. They're afraid of how they will be evaluated from their surroundings. So they don't dare maybe to speak up. Maybe they do have knowledge, because Mercury and Saturn, they're very dedicated. They're very hardworking. So they will sit and study all night. If it's have to be done, they will do it. They could still doubt themselves. They could not speak up. Like in the class, a teacher asked a question, you know the answer, you're not putting your hand up, because you're like, oh, what if I'm wrong? So that could be one way of Mercury and Saturn, or Mercury in Capricorn. And the other way could be that they are simply very, very good. To make sure that no embarrassment will happen to them, they will just put extra hard work to get that correctly right, and then they will be, they will have this certainty that is coming from the knowledge. And also think like Mercury and Saturn in the bad aspects could be difficulties with the speech, like literally difficulties with the speech, difficulties with the writing. Like I know that a very famous ancient orator, Cicero, I don't know how to pronounce it. He was very famous speaker in Roman Empire, and he had a stellium in Capricorn. He had Mercury in Capricorn, and I don't know, but I'm sure it was connected to Saturn. I just don't know in which way. But his life story is amazing. So he had a speech, difficulty. He was like a stutter in a speech. He couldn't speak properly. So what he did, he went to the shore, to the seashore. He put small stones like in his mouth, and he was yelling at the sea waves. He was literally forcing himself with a mouth full of stones, which is like Saturn is stone, rock. He was trying to overcome his natural blockage, so in the speech, and he became the most famous orator in Roman Empire. He was writing books. He was speaking in the Senate. He made the foundation of let's say public speech. This guy who was born with problems in speech. That's Saturn and Mercury.
So there might be some kind of, well, because Saturn again is challenging us, so he basically overcame the challenge. If we will have Saturn, because we were talking about aspects that are positive, which is trine, or negative, which can be, let's say, the square. But what if we will have opposition? Because I personally believe that opposition is sometimes good and sometimes bad. Like, for example, like opposition of in the relationship, opposition of Mars and Venus can be very explosive and can work very well, or can be very bad and consuming the relationship from inside. But what if we will have it here on this kind of, let's say, more intellectual level? What if Mercury is in opposition, let's say with Saturn or with Mars?
Okay, Mercury opposition Saturn.
Can it be like that the Saturn is constantly challenging him, or that on the other hand he can talk about the problems that Saturn brings into his life?
Okay, so I'm thinking that it could be that Saturn is putting blockage on the Mercury from the point of authority. So that could be one thing, that you have a really bad teacher or a parent that is constantly putting you down, that you don't get to express yourself because there is somebody out there who is constantly putting a blockage on you, or you're afraid to speak up, to speak to authority, to speak about the problems. Could be that you're avoiding avoiding to deal with this opposition. It could be so in a good way. Yeah, you would have to work on it. So the good thing with opposition is the planets are one opposite of another. They are, like, let's say, fighting, but one will always prevail. So at the end, you will have resolution of this situation. You will have solution. You have to make a way to keep these energies in balance. So they are like on a scale. So like unbalanced opposition is like this one is on the top and it's bullying the one that is under. You have to find a way to put them in balance. Opposition can work like this. Of course, you need to be the one to make this happen, but it can work like that. So with Saturn, I think the story that I just told, it's more like a square. Square is really making something very impossible. It's extremely hard to resolve. Opposition would be more like you have this outside authority, Saturn, who is making things very, very difficult for you. Now you're Mercury. Let's say you're Mercury in this situation, and you want to express yourself. You maybe gain some knowledge. You want to show it. Blah blah blah. You can't because this guy doesn't make it possible for it to happen. Now, how to resolve that? To resolve that, you need to own this Saturn. So you need to kind of find the courage to be Saturn, to be authority, to get on his level and to speak with him from your Mercury, but on his level. So you're not kind of timid student, you gain enough knowledge and you want to face your very, very strict, horrible professor, you go and you speak with knowledge. So you use your Mercury, but you have to find your inner authority to do that. So you have to climb on his position to be in the balance and to resolve that opposition.
If I can go a tiny bit deeper, this one that I'm talking about is actually opposition of Mercury in Scorpio and Saturn in Taurus in 10th house. So can this Mercury overcome that, let's say, public Saturn from the 10th house by its ability to be, let's say, very charming and sometimes slightly manipulative and definitely faster than the, let's say, stuck and stubborn Saturn in Taurus?
Oh, that is a difficult opposition, Taurus and Scorpio. Yeah, it is. So wait, Mercury in Scorpio. So if Saturn is in the 10th house, Mercury would be in the 4th house. So it is in the waters of unconscious 4th house and in the waters of Scorpio. So Mercury there would be definitely dealing with dark stuff, with the problems, with the issues. It could be family issues because it's the 4th house. Psychological. Mercury in Scorpio, it has ability to see like what is wrong with other people. So now Saturn in Taurus and in the 10th house would be completely traditional, set in stone, maybe wanting to preserve things. Taurus wants to preserve, Saturn is about structure. It could be blocking this Mercury. So like this is just an idea, I'm getting just a theory. Now Mercury in the 4th house could be the one seeing where the problem is, especially if it's in Scorpio. It could be saying, look, like we need to change things to make them, we need to heal our problems in the family, we need to speak about them. Okay, Mercury speaking up, Scorpio healing. So we need maybe to go and see a psychologist or something. And Taurus and Saturn would be that, no way. Also 10th house is how our reputation, how people see us. It would be completely blocking. Like, I don't want to endanger my public image. I don't want to endanger my reputation by dealing with messy stuff of my 4th house. So dealing with my unconscious problems, with my family issues, with God knows what psychological problems that are down there, with family drama and history drama, like with the past. 4th house is also our past. I want to ignore and put it like beneath the carpet. I want to shut it down because I want to create this successful public image of myself that is, literally I'm gaining value from that. I want people to see me like this. I'm not going outside of my boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be the problem. But then if you deny that Mercury in Scorpio and in the fourth house, of course that fourth house is bubbling with problems. It will reach you sooner or later. Mm-hmm. It will reach you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you. And what if we will have opposition with Mercury versus Mars? And I have here in these cases Mars retrograde. So it's my last question. But maybe Mars in general, because that might be a case of more people all around who are watching my videos. But the retrograde Mars would be interesting for me as well.
Okay, if you have retrograde Mars in your natal chart, so you're born during, Mercury, retrograde Mercury, so you're born during Mercury retrograde. Again, we mentioned that with retrograde planets, you're more to turn inwards, you're more introspective. And again, you will be more like right side of brain, so Mercury would not be that logical. It would not maybe verbalize things that much. You would be more intuitive, more creative, more on, you wouldn't maybe make sense to a lot of people, but you would be more inclined on that side that is outside of the box, outside of logical, direct thinking, connecting things in a obvious way. You would be kind of more in these waters of creativity, imagination, communicating with something that is outside of our own over like a daily reality. Opposition of Mercury and Mars, yeah, it could be. So like I'm always looking if like we are the Mercury. So if we are the Mercury and opposite of us is some Mars, of course it depends which houses, which signs, but just this opposition. So it could be that you have people in front of you who are not connected to their intellectual side. You are intellectual, they are just pure force, and they are standing in your way and you can't get around them because you can't logically, rationally, intellectually talk to people who will refuse to listen, who doesn't want to learn, doesn't want to hear. They just like you're in the fight with a person who just doesn't want to get something. They refuse to understand. That's kind of a frustration of this opposition. Now, if that is inside of you, you could be maybe not able to express your anger or not able to express it in a good way, or not able to, when you're angry, you're not able to explain yourself to another person to resolve some fight, some issue like that. Of course, outside, it's you against other person who comes from the point of Mars.
Okay, and if the Mars is retrograde, will it be even worse, or will it be, on the other hand, slightly easier for us than to express in some kind of better
Mars retrograde is usually worse than Mars directly expressed, because the function of Mars is so turned outwards. Then this impulse, Mars is pure impulse to push you to go somewhere. Now, if that impulse is suppressed, if it's turned inwards, it's actually creating more frustration. It's boiling inside. It's just not healthy for the Mars to be so unexpressed and turn like towards itself. That's, I think, the only planet that's really very bad if it's retrograde. It's just healthier for him to go and just spend that energy on the outside.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I think that we covered like all the signs, loads of aspects and loads of houses and stuff. So that was amazing. And I will definitely link your article on the Mercury in different signs under the video, so people can check out also your website. I apologize that we sometimes kind of skipped in the video, that it got slightly stuck because of my internet connection today is not that good. But thank you for your patience and for being here with me today. Thank you.
Thank you.
And bye.
Bye.
Pokud se vám video líbilo, tak neváhejte dát like a odebírat můj kanál. A při odběru nezapomeňte kliknout na malý zvoneček vedle hlavního tlačítka, abyste ode mě měli všechny informace z první ruky. Taky mě můžete sledovat na Instagramu nebo se ke mně připojit na Facebooku. A pokud byste měli nějaký dotaz, tak mi neváhejte napsat na můj e-mail. A kdybyste se chtěli dozvědět něco více o mých kurzech, tak navštivte moje stránky. Moji tvorbu můžete také podpořit skrze PayPal nebo Ko-fi, na které najdete odkazy dole pod videem.